it, hit it.
Hi, welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel studio. This is the Birds of a Feather production studio, and I call it that because my kids help me out with all of the production of my YouTube channel. I'm here today to answer some questions that Creation Crochet has asked me about my brand new book, Cold Weather Crochet. It's published by Interweave. And Lorraine and I talked, and we figured that because the internet is so interactive and you really can get a chance to do videos like this to answer interview questions, why not? Let's do it. So rather than having you just read my answers, I figured I would just go ahead and offer up a video and talk to you about some of the questions or some of the things in the book and answer some of the questions that Creation Crochet offered. So let's dive right on in. I have my trusty little iPad right here to help me out with the questions because Lorraine had quite a few of them, and actually she only had 6, but they're really in depth, and so it's going to take me a little bit of time to answer some of them, but I'll get through as many as I can. And the first one is, can you tell us a little bit about your crochet background? Like, how did I learn, and was there anybody that influenced me to pick up the hook, and how long have I been crocheting? Well, I learned from my grandmother. I actually asked her to teach me how to crochet when she came up to college to visit me, and we went out to dinner, and she didn't bowl or didn't play bingo, and I said, Grandma, I want you to show me how to crochet. So we went to that world famous yarn store called Walmart. I picked up a crochet hook and a ball of Red Heart Super Saver yarn, and I was off to the races, literally. She taught me how to do the chain stitch and the single crochet, and then I taught myself everything else from there. Funny story. My very first project was a full-size, queen-size blanket, all done with single crochets and a drop-down double crochet. It took me forever to finish, right? But I made blankets. That's all I ever did. I was just like, you crochet to make blankets. It didn't even occur to me that I could crochet and make other items, right? So there I am, sitting in my dorm, or actually I wasn't in my dorm, I was in my apartment in college, and I'm crocheting along, and my friend had one of her boyfriends over, and he was like, oh, what are you doing? Are you making a scarf? And I was like, no, I'm making a blanket. Like, geez, who is he? And I looked down and I was like, well, I'll be darned. It was 5 inches wide, about 6 feet long, and I figured I could stop right now and call it a scarf. And my whole world just opened up when I realized, oh my gosh, I don't have to make blankets. So as I began to make other things, I very rarely followed a pattern, and I just dove in and started designing. And one thing led to another, and here I am today. I am doing so many different things, but being able to write my own book about cold weather crochet is really exciting. So let me just talk to you about some of the designs in the book, okay? Because one of the questions in here is, what are some of my favorite things to design, or what are some of my favorite things in the book? And a couple of my favorite things are actually right here. But this is actually a beige version of the pewter hat, which is this really super cute lace hat that you can wear a little bit slouched down on top, not too much, and it has just really cute decorative buttons. And when I finished this, I wanted to have one that I could wear around the house when I sent this off to Interweave to be photographed, and so I made myself like a beige colored one. So this is my beige colored pewter hat, which I love and I wear a lot. And then the other one of the other hats that I just really love in the book is called the Big Pink Hat. And so this is the Big Pink Hat. Let's move this out of the way. And the reason it got called the Big Pink Hat is because usually when you send off patterns to magazines and such, the magazine editors change the names on you. So I learned a long time ago, don't get attached to any sort of name when you name a project. So I just started naming things as far as describing the hat, hence the pewter hat, get it? Because it's like pewter gray. And this one was called the Big Pink Hat because it's a big pink hat, right? It is meant to be just one of those hats that just fits right on your head. It slouches down. It uses bulky yarn. It's thick. It's warm. It's fast. And it was one of my most favorite projects to make in the book. So I finished the Big Pink Hat and I made myself a purple version. So this is an example of how you do not have to use pink for the Big Pink Hat. You can absolutely use other colors, but this is my big purple hat using the Big Pink Hat pattern. And I absolutely love this. I wear this a lot. My kids play sports and their pee-wee teams, their colors are gold and purple. So the gold and purple for that hat actually works really perfect. But when I finished this hat, it's one of those projects where I finished it and I'm like, that is so simple. People are going to be like, why would I ever want to buy a book to make this hat? But at the same time, it helped me remember that not everything has to be super complex. Sometimes you just want a mindless, really simple, fast, quick project, and this is perfect for that. So get the book and make the big pink hat. The pewter hat takes a little bit more time, but it's equally beneficial and totally worth all the time. Okay, so those are two of the projects. Those are two of the hat projects. Different, but I want to talk about the log cabin specifically because this is my take on the traditional quilted log cabin. Can you see how they all intersect with one another? But instead of using just a basic single crochet or a basic double crochet, I actually use the single crochet double crochet combination, which is sometimes called the crochet seed stitch or crumple stitch or whatever you want to call it. It's my favorite stitch, which is why I wanted to talk about this one today. I think it is such a wonderful stitch to learn, whether you're a beginner crocheter or if you're an advanced crocheter and you kind of want to go back to something real basic. The single double is perfect because it is wonderful in texture. It gives a great, beautiful stitch. It's easy to follow along because if you're working into a single crochet, you know you have to do a double crochet. And if you accidentally have two double crochets side by side, you know you made a mistake. So you don't get rows and rows and rows ahead before you figure out you have a mistake. You find out pretty immediately. So I love the single double crochet stitch, and I love the way it turned out in this blanket. And I wanted to use really super bold and bright colors so that it wasn't like kind of a down and drab log cabin blanket, because sometimes in your cold weather and you're going to cover up in blankets, you're already kind of feeling down because the sun's not out as often. And so I wanted something that was going to, brighten your day a little bit and make you want to wrap up and be cheerful. So that's the log cabin blanket. I absolutely love the edging, how it incorporated the three colors with the white border all the way around each square. Very easy to make. And this one I made out of, or I had made because my contractor actually made this, and she's fabulous. But it's a wool yarn, so this is a very, very super warm blanket. But I love it, and I love the stitch. So if you're interested in making a blanket, but you don't want to be like super intense, like maybe the African flower might be, because it's a whole lot of ends to weave in, or maybe you don't really like the idea of doing the spirals of the tilt-a-whirl, which is really super cute, but you want something that's portable and just will look nice and pack a punch, the log cabin blanket will really do that. It's super cute, and it's a really easy stitch pattern. You won't have any trouble with that. But beyond the simple, let's set that aside. I'm going to bring in, this is Maria. Say hi to Maria. Woohoo! Maria wants to say hi. So this particular project is called the Cabled Shawl. Once again, it's called the Cabled Shawl because that's what I named it when I sent it in to the publisher. It should have some sort of really cool and quirky name, but it absolutely doesn't. It's called the Cabled Shawl. What's really awesome about this is obviously I'm not exactly a super small girl. I'm a bigger girl, and I like to have big shawls to be able to wrap around me. I hate it when I make a shawl and, I can barely just like tie a little knot. Hence the reason I have this really nice big shawl here. I like it to be able to wrap around. So this shawl has a really nice wingspan to it, and it's done essentially in panels if you think about it. It's all done in one piece, but if you think of each section as its own little panel, it makes it really manageable. So you start off down here at the bottom, and you work your way up through this really beautiful cable stitch pattern, and then you go into basic stripes with some subtle shaping up here so that you get the really pretty shawl shape. Now, my favorite thing about this particular piece is, one, it uses some really great yarn. It's yarn by Drew and Borsky called Gemstones. Two, the crochet cable chart that is included with this particular shawl is awesome, and it incorporates everything that I love to do with charts. If you have been watching my YouTube channel, or you've taken any other classes from me, or you listen to my podcast, you know I love crochet charts. One of the things about crochet charts that I love when I'm working with cables specifically is being able to color in the stitches on the cables, so that way I don't really have to pay attention to whether a stitch is leaning to the right or to the left or what's to the front or to the back. If I can look at it and say, okay, that blue stitch there, this is what I'm going to do. Like intuitively, I know what it's going to do, right? Just like you see an octagon and it's red, you intuitively know that's a stop sign. You're going to stop. So when I make crochet cable charts or charts in general, I like to add color. So interweave was really nice, and my tech editor, Karen Manthe, was fantastic. And I asked her to please like shade in the stitches of the cable chart, so that way it would make it really easy for you crocheters out there who want to make this to follow along and follow the chart really easily, especially if you haven't done charts before. So she did that. I think it's fabulous. She did it on all of the cable charts in the book, so you won't have any problem with that. It's even the cover piece where it's a cabled hood and scarf. The cable on the hood portion is a really pretty cable chart also. One of the other questions that Lorraine had was, what gives me inspiration, or what excites me about crochet? I know it's really kind of generic to say this, but it's literally everything. It's seeing what other designers and my friends design and come up with. And like, I have my favorites. I have, Robin Chichula is my by far favorite designer, and I love everything she does. I love watching what she comes up with and the way she teaches stuff. I think she's fabulous. Kristen Omdahl, I love the fact that she's coming out with these really super great designs for warmer weather. You know, she has the cold weather stuff too, but specifically warmer weather because she lives in Florida, and she has her own yarn line now, and she's just being so productive, and so she's just this huge inspiration. So watching the success of my friends and watching everything that they do creatively really inspires me to really want to just push a little bit further and design a little bit more, and I just love that. I also, sorry, some of my ear itches. When I'm out in public and I'll pay attention to what other people are wearing, or I'll pay attention to colors, or I'll pay attention to shapes in the tiles, because that really reminds me of crochet motifs. That's kind of where I get a lot of inspiration from that. You'll see a lot of pictures on my iPhone of pictures of tiles or carpets or whatever it may be, because it'll just like trigger a little memory in my head. Let's see here if I can see if there's one more question that Lorraine might have had. Oh, Siri thinks I'm asking her a question. We don't want to answer a question from Siri. All right, so what are the last thing? Oh, lastly, your stash. We all have a yarn stash, and what does your yarn stash look like? I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. No. My yarn stash takes up my 3/4 of my basement, so it's about, 1,200 square feet, I guess. It's a lot. I have a lot of yarn. I have one of my contractors here. She's behind the camera, and she's looking at me. Do I have a lot of yarn? Yeah, I have a lot of yarn. I'm surrounded by yarn. Here in the studio, who needs sound things for the walls when you can just line the walls with yarn? There's yarn everywhere that you can't see. There's yarn. I have a lot of yarn. I have a lot of really great yarn, from Red Heart to Bijou Basin Ranch to Buffalo Wool Company to, yarn companies that don't even exist anymore. I love yarn, all types of yarn. For me, it all begins with the yarn. It's not a matter of if you're going to crochet it or if you're going to knit it. It's about the yarn, which is one of the reasons I called my podcast Yarn Thing, because I really feel like it's about the yarn when you decide to sit down, grab your hook or grab your needles, and decide to crochet or knit with the yarn. So anyways, I hope that answers your questions, and I hope you enjoyed this kind of interview. If you want to find more about me, you can always check out the Marley Bird YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Marley Bird, or you can check out marleybird.com. Thanks so much for watching, you guys, and Lorraine, mwah, I love you so much, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!